You just checked your phone maybe 30 seconds ago, maybe less, and before you consciously decided to do it, your hand was already moving. That is not a habit. That is something far older, far stranger, and far more powerful than any app designer ever invented. Your brain is not a modern machine. It is an ancient survival device running inside a glass rectangle. And right now, it is confused in a way that may be reshaping your entire life. Here is what is actually happening. Somewhere between 1.8 and 2 million years ago, your ancestors lived in small bands on the open savanna. Life was dangerous. Food was scarce. Being cut off from the group meant death. So your brain evolved one absolute priority above all others. Never miss what is happening around you. Never stop scanning. Never assume silence means safety. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan spent decades studying what he called the wanting system. Not pleasure, wanting. His research showed that dopamine, the chemical most people associate with reward, is not actually released when you get what you want. It is released the moment before. It is the chemical of anticipation, of maybe, of what if there is something there. Your ancestors needed that system to survive. A rustle in the grass might be a predator. A glance over the hill might reveal food. The brain that kept scanning, kept checking, kept wondering if something had changed. That was the brain that survived long enough to pass its genes to you. So here you are, 2 million years later, with that exact same brain and a glowing rectangle that produces an unpredictable stream of social signals, visual novelty, and maybe something new every single time you look at it. You never had a chance. The notification sound your phone makes is not random. B.F. Skinner, the behavioral psychologist who spent his career studying reward schedules at Harvard, discovered something fascinating about animals and choice. When rewards come on a fixed schedule, behavior plateaus. When rewards come randomly, behavior becomes compulsive. He called it variable ratio reinforcement, and it is the most powerful behavioral lock ever identified in the animal kingdom. It is why slot machines are designed the way they are. It is exactly why you check your phone even when you are not expecting anything. Sometimes there is a message. Sometimes there is not. Sometimes it is something important. Sometimes it is nothing. The randomness is the trap. And your ancient brain cannot distinguish between checking for lions on the savannah and checking for likes on a post. To your nervous system, they register in the same place, but it goes even deeper than dopamine. Humans are a profoundly social species, more social, arguably, than almost any other animal on Earth. Robin Dunbar, the evolutionary anthropologist at Oxford, proposed that the human neocortex, the large thinking part of your brain, evolved primarily to manage complex social relationships, not to solve math problems, not to invent language, to track who likes who owes who is rising in the group, and who is falling. Your brain is running a social simulation constantly. It wants to know where you stand. It needs to know what others think of you. For most of human history, that information came slowly. A look across the fire, a gesture at the hunt. Now it arrives in real time, compressed into a number. 47 likes, 3 comments, 1 reply left on read. That number is not trivial to your nervous system. It feels like survival information, because evolutionarily, it was. There is a moment most people recognize but cannot explain. You're in the middle of a conversation, a real one with a real person sitting across from you. And you feel the pull, not urgency, not expectation, just pull. Your hand drifts toward your pocket before your brain has formed a single conscious thought. That is not rudeness. That is your oldest instinct interpreting a vibration as a signal from the environment that something may have changed. Psychologist Larry Rosen, who has studied technology and the brain for over 2 decades, found that the average person checks their phone every 9 to 11 minutes. Not because they are addicted in the clinical sense, but because the brain enters a mild anxiety state when separated from the device. He calls it eye disorder. The phone has been absorbed into the nervous system's threat monitoring loop. Being away from it feels, faintly, like being away from the tribe. And here is the part that should genuinely surprise you. This was all predictable, not because technology companies are villains, but because the brain they were designing for was already built to respond this way. Every pull to refresh mechanic, every infinite scroll, every red badge on an icon. These are not inventions. They are discoveries of levers that were already inside you, placed there over millions of years of survival pressure. The compulsion you feel is not weakness, it is ancient competence. Misapplied. So what do you do with that? Understanding the mechanism does not break it, but it does change your relationship to it. When you feel the pull, you now know what is actually speaking. Not boredom, not curiosity, something older, something that kept your ancestors alive through ice ages, predators, and famine. Something that is genuinely confused about why the most important social signals of your life are arriving through a glass screen. You cannot rewire 2 million years, but you can notice the pull for what it is. And in that noticing, for just a moment, you are not the ancient brain scanning the savannah. You are the thing that is aware of it. Tonight, when you reach for your phone, your hand will move before you decide. That is not a flaw in you. That is the oldest software still running. The question is simply whether you, the part that can ask that question, gets a say in what happens next.